too much, the walls turn gray. Mind fuck a whole verse, it's all for play. Don't rub me the wrong way. I get the trippin', put the clip in, got my finger itching, it with the biscuit. I'm aiming for your gizzard, it's cool, making it rain, but me I make it blizzard. Got charged and acquitted, odds know I fix 'em. My lawyer Jews is hell, that's how I beat the system. In addition, that 100 grand I gave him, got him working like he on the block. Finished the pack, re up the serving, I'm swerving.
So here we go. Here is my MAME Arcade machine. Gonna show off just a few areas that are pretty cool about this machine. I'm gonna zoom in right here. These guys see right here. Right here we have some USB ports. Those are gonna be for the wired controllers. Those are already like a hole drilled into the machine. And it's like, okay, that'd be a great area for the USB ports. Here is the control panel. It's a 6-button layout that all new joysticks, controls, done by me, all wired to the J-Pack, which I will show you in a second. I also have a Ergo touchpad, you know what I'm saying? So basically I don't have to ever, the whole point of the setup is to never really have to touch a keyboard or a mouse unless I want to, you know what I'm saying? So that's how that looks. And here is the machine on right now with Mortal Kombat 2 being played. It's kind of light, a lot of light going on right here, but that's the marquee basically. Marquee. So here we are inside of the guts of the machine. Try to give you guys, I know this beam's kind of in the way, but you know, just an idea of how this machine kind of looks on the inside. Get some tracking focus on here. Yeah, so this is the inside of the machine. We have a Lepi amp. We have the iPack for the controls. And we have you know, all the wiring for the controls themselves. And then you know, we have the PC. Let's get a zoom on that. Arcade power supply, transformer. We have the you can see it. We have the J-Pack that allows the PC to integrate with the arcade monitor. So again, get another look at everything. You know, pretty clean. I could make it cleaner, but just you know, some fine tuning here and there that I gotta do. Let's just put this down. Back up. Alrighty guys, so we are going to load up the machine and show you guys what it's all about. The way I have it set up right now is I basically open up the coin drawer. The PC button is right there. And I can load the machine up, and then I have, so that turns the computer on, and then when I hit the switch, the whole machine comes on, which is the marquee, the monitor, the audio, all that good stuff. The Windows setup is on the arcade PC front end setup is on an SSD hard drive, so it only takes about maybe 45 seconds for the machine to boot up. A very quick boot up. And I always have it, I don't have it set up right now where it goes straight to the front end. Because I spent so much time configuring these emulators and getting everything just exactly the way I wanted it. So that's going to probably be the next step. I think everything at this point is configured, and sometimes there's additional things that I want to do before I even get into the emulators. But the front end that I'm using is Games EX. Again, this is a Windows 7 based operating system, and 64-bit. So here's Games EX right here, and I'm just going to click on that, and that opens up the front end. So it takes about a minute, actually not a minute, a few seconds to load up. And here's the audio, and a lot of videos are showing hyperspin setups. Hyperspin's a very nice front end. It's very beautiful. I'm not particularly as much of a fan of it because I feel like it's a little too flashy, and it takes up resources and stuff of that nature, so I didn't want to do that for a first build. However, for the second machine that I'm working on in my man cave, which is a Mortal Kombat 4 based, which is a dedicated Mortal Kombat 4, I'm going to make that a dual front end system, Games EX and Hyperspin. And I'm going to explain why I'm doing dual a little later. I'm not doing dual just because it's cool. Oh, I got dual front end. There's a very specific reason for that. Kind of what I'm going to go into right now. So this is Games EX. This is a much cleaner front end than Hyperspin. Doesn't take up as much resources. It's pretty straight to the point. It's not as glitzy. It's not as flashy. It's just straight right to the point. And I'm gonna show you how we got it set up right here. So basically, I have this arcade machine plays pretty much everything pre-2000. So we got Sega Naomi, which is Dreamcast, which is Sega Naomi 2, which is Adamsware, I believe, if I'm saying that right. Just a bunch of emulators in kind of one. This Demule, basically, which is one of the greatest emulators in existence for playing Dreamcast and Naomi-based arcade stuff. Adam's Wave, I got Nintendo GameCube, N64, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Wii, 32X, Sega CD, Sega Dreamcast, which is not Demule based. This is I can't remember which emulator is this right here. Can't remember off the top of my head. It's an emulator that I don't even use much. I'm probably gonna end up taking that off. Sega Genesis, Sony PlayStation 1, and this is Sony PlayStation 2 in Mugen right here. Everything here that I'm showing you for the most part works flawlessly. I only put stuff on this machine that will actually play or that is like arcade appropriate. So here's the thing with this setup. For instance, let's go to All Games. All Games is all the MAME Arcade stuff. So right here are all the MAME stuff right here. All the MAME stuff that I specifically handpicked that are classics to me and stuff that I want. MAME Arcade emulator has, I don't know, they've emulated probably every game in the entire library of arcade. I don't know, 20,000 games, 30,000 games, who knows, but I got the classics. So I got about 200 games on here. The Street Fighters, the Neo Geo games, Final Fight, Garo Mako Wolves, KI1, 2. So these are all specific arcade games, and all of them are running at native resolution and refresh rate, which gives an identical arcade look. So for instance, we're going to load up Marvel vs. Capcom right here. You get, title, you get commands if you want to do that. Pretty cool stuff right here. You can add it to your favorites, recommended games. Really, really cool how this is set up. So let's hit play. You get an outlook of what the configuration is. Actually, what I'm going to do, because of I have an option in Games EX that I set that doesn't show the arcade information. So let's load the game up again, and then we'll go to arcade information, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. The way I have the system set up basically is that you never really have to touch a keyboard and mouse. I have a little mouse pad right here, Ergo touchpad, which is really cool because I don't have to pick up an actual mouse. I can just use my finger, and if I need to use a mouse function, I have that. And everything is pretty much set up where I can just use the controls. So, well, some of these games are set up on free play. That's the thing with MAME. For MAME, you have to individually set each settings. You have to set like controls, screen settings, etc., etc. So the way I have it set up now is I have to hit the start button and light punch to import coins. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys. I don't know why this ain't working, but so I'm going to show you guys machine information here. So I don't know how it's coming out on the camera, but the original resolution of this game is 384 by 224 with a refresh rate of 59.637 hertz. Okay. Switch res, which is the setup is using, is running super resolution. So super resolutions is just a way to condense the table of resolutions. It's easier on the graphics card just to pull up a resolution. The most important thing here with these arcade games is more or less the vertical resolution. So all the games are running at 2560 super resolution, which is pretty much applicable to all arcade games. It's the vertical resolution that really needs to be on point so it can fill up the screen appropriately. And it says 384 by 224 original. Switch res is doing 2560 for horizontal for all games by 240p. So there's about a 15 pixel differentiation, but for the most part it's a pixel perfect representation. But the most important thing is the hertz. We have 59 hertz here and 59.63 here, identical, which is key. So another thing with these machines is with this switch res setup is the only downside, and really the only downside, is that because all arcade games have, you know, different resolutions, sometimes you may have to adjust the vertical from game to game, which can be a little bit annoying at times. Let's load up this game. Again, I don't know how it's coming up on the camera, but this monitor is gorgeous. It's vibrant, it's bright, it's colorful, no screen burn. It's just as good as it can really get, honestly. Put some audio. Draw this game a little bit so you guys can see how it's playing.
Ready. Fight.
So this is the game right here. Now again, this is a pixel perfect representation. So some of you guys may notice like the energy bars are a little bit you can't see them fully, and even like the insert coin. That's because I have the vertical turned up a little bit more than it should be. I just like it personally like this because, you know, the fighters, they're a little bit larger, the sprites and everything, and I just, for whatever reason, I just like that look. You know what I'm saying? As long as I can basically see everything on the screen, I'm pretty cool with that. There's some additional adjustments that I need to do on the monitor with the with the horizontal coil. The image is a little bit too wide, so I need to compress it in a little bit so these areas come in more and that insert coin is like right there more so. But for the most part, this is a pixel perfect, exact. If I had the actual arcade dedicated machine right next to here, it would look exactly like this. Exactly. Show you a little action. So what I noticed is with the Capcom games, obviously you don't have to manipulate the resolution because they're all pretty much the same. Like the Street Fighters, Marvel vs. Capcoms. The Midway games pretty much all have the same resolution, so you don't have to manipulate between them. The Neo Geo games are very similar to the Capcom games. So it is a little bit annoying. Again, you do have to manipulate a little bit, like Mortal Kombat 2. If I show you guys right now, when I load it up, show you guys right now how that looks when I load it up. Now, because the resolution on this game, let's see what the resolution on this game is. So, original resolution is 400 by 254, 54.70 hertz. Switch res is outputting 2560 horizontal for everything, 256. So there's only a 2 pixel differential, so nearly pixel for pixel. And 54.707, 57.706. Identical hertz. Okay. As good as you're gonna get. But as you can see, the image here is a little stretched out because the resolution is higher. So again, I gotta go to the vertical pods. I have a vertical pod right in the front of the coin box, and that has to be adjusted. So let me pick Scorpion. And I've been playing this game so much on this setup, I pretty much know when it's perfect. I pretty much use the timer to indicate to me. So I'm just come down just a little bit more.
Round 2, fight.
I'm playing Mortal Kombat.
Finish him.
Screw that up. Still got a match.
Round 1, fight.
Again, I have the vertical a little more than it probably should be, which is making the image look scaled, but it's not scaled. It is identical to the arcade. I own the arcade, the actual arcade it is, and I have the vertical stretched out a little bit more than it should, and it's exactly the same. So,
Finish him.
amazing.
Fatality.
Great sound. The amplifier really brings the stock speakers into makes them sound so nice.
Flawless victory. Round 2, fight.
There we go. So that's Mortal Kombat.
Fatality.
And let me prove to you that, like, for the most part, the resolutions are the same. So let me load up a game like NBA Jam. As you can see, because I had adjusted the resolution prior, now you can see a little bit of the black, kind of black bars right here because the screen has actually been adjusted to accommodate Mortal Kombat. So if I wanted to bring the home screen back to the way it should be, filling out the whole screen, I would have to make an adjustment. But since I'm going to another game, I'm not going to do that. So let's load this game up and see what we got going on here. Again, like I said prior, the image is a little bit wider than it should be. I cannot adjust that. I will not be able to adjust that until I get a coil tool. There's a very specific tool that you need in order to do that. I had one, but I lost it. Let's go with Actually, I need to make an adjustment. I've never played this game on this setup. So... as you can see, everything is really, really good. Ooh, what the hell was that? Everything is looking good. Everything's legit. Wow. This game cheats like a motherfucker. NBA Anytime is awesome too. I love them all, man. Like this, I don't know, something special about this game. Even though it's a lot more simplistic and less options. Really, really fun game. And you can break the backboard in this game. But again, so that's the MAME stuff. Now the good news is that first of all let's adjust the screen back to the way it should be. The good news is that for all the console-based games like PlayStation, Dreamcast, stuff like that, there's not much adjusting you have to do because pretty much everything is running at either at 240 or 640 interlaced. And on a arcade monitor, 640 by 480 interlaced direct RGB is an amazing visual. There's for instance, if you had 640 by 480 interlaced on a Sony Trinitron TV with an S-video connection, it's gonna look completely different than 640 by 480 interlaced on a arcade monitor CGA output. Basically, there's really no visual difference between 640p interlaced and 640i interlaced on an arcade monitor. You can't discern the difference for the most part. It looks pretty much identical, and I tested that extensively. But let's load up Soul Calibur. Let's see what we got here. This is Demule running the Sega Dreamcast core, which is the best way to play Dreamcast games, and it looks absolutely amazing. So this emulator is again running 640 by 480 interlaced, because arcade monitors don't do 640 by 480p, but that's totally okay. Let's see what we got here. So it loads up. One thing I will tell you guys is that if you love this game, the good news is that this game is emulated flawlessly. This game is simply gorgeous. This is the way that this game is truly meant to be played, and it's just absolutely amazing that I could be playing this game like this. Man, I'm sucking you guys. I'm sorry. Promise, I'm way better than this right now. This is on ultra high, by the way. Again, absolutely gorgeous. So this is a console-based emulator. So this is, for instance, Dreamcast. The way that you go back and get out of the emulator. Let me turn the volume is that you just have to hit these 2 buttons.
Plus, if you push the fuel cells corruption, and then they would die.